Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Wednesday's Matchday preview. I'm your host, The Gov. Looking forward to the next half an hour or so of talking about Ipswich Town FC. And as always, it's live. Although if you watch on catch up, hello, hope you are well. If you're listening on our audio platforms, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening. Leave a 5-star review. And we can't do these shows without you wonderful people at home listening, watching, and getting involved in the live chat, as many of you are already doing so. And leaving your catch-up comments when you're watching later, whenever you happen to be watching. I'll come to a few of those comments now. Adi says, good evening, everyone. We got a result in the end last night, but we did make it hard work. Looking forward to the third round draw later. That's obviously coming after the Everton game. Everton-Doncaster kicking off around about now, actually. Mike Baker, just like to thank everybody from the TT community for messages of support for my wife. Feeling the love. Mike, I hope everything's okay with yourself. Yeah, I'm not sure what I've missed, but I hope everything is absolutely okay. Phil says, still a winning mind, Colin. Victory in a cup comp to progress to the next round. Good evening, Ant. And 79 Cats. I feel really bad for Williams. Obviously, not the greatest of starts, but he will cover. He progressed through the course of the game, I hear. Jacob, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed come deadline day. I'm sure we'll touch on that as we go through the show. And Phil Blundell, there were lots and lots of people who didn't make it last night. Yes. What was the actual away figure in the end? Let someone in the chat let us know. The Football Content Awards, they are welcoming votes. They're still open. You can vote for Talking Town Best Club Content Creator. Link is in the chat. Please head there and vote. We desperately need your support. You can vote 3 times: website, Twitter, and Instagram. I'll also put the tweet, if you're like me, hard pressed for time, just to help you along. You can copy and paste that to your Twitter account, post that, boom, that's a vote. Website is 2 votes. And if you've got Instagram, go and vote on there. We'll set a like target of 100 likes tonight if you're brand new here, or whether you're just returning and you find yourself back here again for Talking Town content. Hit that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it. I am joined this evening by the man, the myth, the legend, normally seen talking about cricket, Brandon Carter. Brandon, how are you, sir?
I'm not bad, thank you. How are you, Gov?
I'm all right.
That's good.
I'm finally over the rain destroying the ashes and really turning my growing love for a sport off. But that
That's
seems like
nice. I'm still not over it, Gov. I still cry every time a cloud comes over. There you go.
It seems like a lifetime ago that the ashes was on.
It does. It's
only a month ago, was it not?
Yeah. And I miss Europe Broad already. I do miss red ball cricket already, although I still dabble in it myself on the weekends to quite an insulting standard compared to what we were watching, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And if you're a business owner, we are looking for sponsors for the platform. Email martin@talkingtown.co.uk. I can obviously give you the stats and the figures and all the information once you've emailed me. If you want to sponsor the platform, please do get in touch. But we're here to talk about Ipswich. Another win last night. That's into the third round of the Cup. First time in what feels like forever. Your thoughts on last night, Brandon?
Yeah, good to get through. Looking forward to tonight, where I'm sure it'll probably be us, United, City, and Sutton left, and we'll manage to get Sutton. That's normally how it goes.
I wouldn't mind Sutton.
No, absolutely. Sorry, I should have been more boring and probably said something like, Blackburn after they win tonight or something, But, it is what it is. I never like facing teams in our own league. And I also really dislike the fact that it's still possible in round 2 for 2 Premier League teams to play each other. I think it ruins it for... There was an All League 2 tie last night. What harm would it be if some, one League 2 team played Fulham, one League 2 team played Tottenham? It'd be better for all 4 teams, really, wouldn't it? I know it puts the League 2 ones at disadvantage, but they won't care. They'll have a brilliant full house at their ground, or take a full away following over to a massive stadium. So that's one bugbear I have in every cup, especially the League Cup, because they haven't got to fiddle around with non-league teams. So
no, I do agree with you. Yeah, keeping Premier League teams apart until the latter stages and I think the Premier League teams would probably, on paper, think that's a preferable route for them to go.
It'd be better for everyone.
I think it really would be, yeah. Certainly
League Two teams know they're not going to win it, but at least then they have a chance of playing one of the big dogs.
And they win the financial raffle, as it were.
Absolutely.
They win that revenue, which is what it's all about, for a lower league side. Because, like when we're in, even us, Championship side, we know we're not going to win the EFL Cup. We know that. If you do, it's a miracle of a cup run. So you want the big tie, or you want to go as far as you can and then face the big tie, because it's really a revenue stream, isn't it? I would say.
Yeah. The last thing you want is a team who you already played twice a year, who, if you rest a couple players, you could get knocked out and not play one of the big dogs in the next round because you've played someone who's already in your league, which is boring. So that's my bugbear with the cup.
Have you got one team you particularly want in the next round? Because I either want a really glamorous tie at home, or I want,
absolutely,
no disrespect, a Sutton type tie at home again. But either a really financially revenue stream, if you like, in terms of wow, that's a big tie. Sky might put it on, or a team that you could fancy beating. Have you got one?
Well, before last night, I really wanted Tottenham away. I really want to go to that stadium. One of my good mates is a Tottenham season ticket holder, and the amount of money that's gone into building that ground, and it looks like a beautiful ground to go to. I would have loved Ipswich to be away there and packed out the away end. Yeah, any of the big dogs at home, as you said, any of the sort of winnable games at home, or even one of the big London teams away. I think Ipswich will certainly travel in their numbers to any ground, I suppose, any big team around the country, but make it a bit easier. Get everyone up in London around 5 o'clock, face one of the big boys in their backyard and beat
Tottenham's new ground, or it's not new really anymore, is it? But Tottenham's ground.
Yeah, but nice. Tottenham have been knocked out, didn't they, last night?
Of course.
That's why I was very upset.
I was out last night, Brandon. I've got a clue what happened last night. I've got a dicky bird, mate. Not
they
a clue.
Got knocked out by Fulham on pens. And that was the Premier League team I wouldn't mind Fulham. Yeah. Arsenal away. Be nice.
I have to be honest. I took a rare night off from football altogether last night. I went out for a curry for a friend's birthday, and I just had a rare night where I wasn't engaged with football of any level. I got home, looked at the WhatsApp group, changed the notifications so it looked tidier, as in clicked them, didn't read them. It was nice. It was lovely.
Nice.
It was nice to sort of disassociate. But I hear Brandon Williams didn't have the greatest of debuts.
I heard otherwise. I listened to the game. I don't have a dodgy stick, unfortunately, and I wasn't that ready.
But did you have a ticket? Were you one of the people that had a ticket but didn't go?
No. I was going to go. I was going to buy a ticket and go, but I couldn't get it off work. There's already too many people on annual leave at work, so I couldn't get it off. From what I heard, the commentators were saying that the goal wasn't particularly his fault, although the own goal was credited to him. If you look back at it, it's really not his fault. He just tracked the man.
Yeah, no, I've seen it back. Yeah,
sort of been run into him. But other than that, I think he grew into the game. It sounded like he was a bit of a threat going forward. So I think he's been a bit hard done by the first couple games. The first thing he had to do, obviously, on last Saturday was have Sinistera, who's probably the best player on the pitch.
He was last Saturday, that's for sure. Yeah, his stats back that up. Unbelievable stats.
And I think if he'd been playing a bit more football, I reckon he probably would have just slid against Sinistera rather than try and go shoulder to shoulder with him. But obviously, you don't want the risk of conceding a penalty, so instead he fell over and Sinistera bent it in. But the own goal's not his fault to me. So
no, and I didn't even look at last Saturday's goal as his fault. Really, when it happened, I didn't think Goy wasn't good enough there. I just thought it was a player who on his day
just got overloaded on that side, didn't we?
And he got beaten by a player who on his day was beating every single Town player without a shadow of a doubt. He was the best player I've seen at Portman Road in many, many years.
I'll be very surprised if Sinistera spends the whole season in the championship.
Yeah, I would.
If he doesn't go this window, I'll be surprised. If he then doesn't get picked up in January by a team trying to stay in the Premier League, I'll be even more surprised.
Charlie says Kieran Slicker looks promising in goal. I agree with that. Every time I've seen Slicker so far, I have been impressed. I will be honest. Kevin says, is it still regional for third round? I don't think so. No, Kev also brings the highlight. What about Jonathan Woodgate's debut for Real Madrid? Scores an own goal, gets sent off. So no problem for Brandon Williams. He'll learn from the last two games, and I really believe he'll shine. So, Kev bringing the could have been worse sort of line. I like that. But yeah, that's Reading. That's the EFL Cup. We'll see who we get. That'll be after the Everton game tonight, about 10:15. We won't be on the air because I don't think this show's in the last 2 and a bit hours. Or if it does,
I don't know. I have a lot to dig into, Gav.
if it does, something's gone drastically wrong. But Chaplin won League One Player of the Year, with Morsey, Davis, and Chaplin all in the League One Team of the Year. First of all, Connor Chaplin, I do have to say I do really love and enjoy watching all the Town players tweet the same sort of messages when they support each other. It really gives me this is a together unit, a camaraderie, a love, a brotherhood, and I really like that as a fan. Like they really one and all. So the last sort of day or so, they've all been tweeting out the picture of Connor with his trophy, which I've really enjoyed. But it's because I've sort of Colin in the chat who was telling me Baggett was very good indeed. But what are your thoughts on Connor Chaplin winning Player of the Year? Oh,
absolutely deserved. I mean, yeah. Look, he's not a striker. Didn't play as a striker. He scored 28 goals. He had over 30 goal involvements. So, what else is there to say?
Mm-hmm.
I think we might get into this, but I think the traits that he has, his skills in terms of finding space in the box and his finishing ability, that translates to whatever league you're playing in the world. Do you know what I mean? So, he's not a player that's going to necessarily run past 4 players and do this and do that. He's just going to be in the right place in the right time, and he's going to pick the right part in the net where the keeper can't get to it. And he's brilliant. He's brilliant. And I think he's one of the ones on the pitch as well. I'm surprised he's never had the captain's armband on in any cup games that he's came on. I think you can see he's such a leader on the pitch. I think it does go a little bit unnoticed. He's always talking. If someone misses a chance, like I remember Broadhead when he missed the penalty at Barnsley away last year, first person to go over to him was Connor Chaplin. Just said, head up, Broady, and it goes unnoticed. He does that a lot. If someone misses a chance, someone makes a mistake, he'll be the one trying to get him up. And you sometimes see it before he takes kickoff because he's often the one taking kickoff. He does try and rally the troops. So
now you've said that, I can definitely recall situations where I've seen that firsthand myself at Portman Road. And you're right, he's a leader on the pitch. He's a great player. Obviously, won League One Player of the Year, PFA League One Player of the Year, and Davison and Morsey also in the squad. Which one has sort of adapted though for you? 4 games into the Championship quicker. Who settled into it quicker for you?
It's difficult. All 3 of them obviously played Championship before. I would argue that Leif Davis took a big step down to playing League One with us last year. So he's more so just getting close to the level he's at, which I think he would be a very good left back for many Premier League teams. And I think his chance creation, his play on the ball is the best I've seen in my time being an Ipswich fan, which isn't as long as we've seen his time at Ipswich, that I haven't seen live. But he's been brilliant. Chaplin and Morsey. I think Morsey is just your standard. He's going to give you a 7.5 out of 10 every week. Sometimes he doesn't get plaudits. So I thought he was the best player on the pitch the second half against Leeds. I think.
Somebody else who agrees with me. Love it.
I think after he had that little tussle with Ampadu on about the 38th, 40th minute, it just put a bee in his bonnet. And then after that, he just ran the show for me. He played really well. And I think Chaplin's probably been the least impactful in the games that we've had. But he's now got 2 and 2. So I have no doubt that as I said, he's one of those people like Broadhead, I think it's been touched on Saturday's show. Sometimes you don't notice them until they score. And but they are in the team to be involved in creating or scoring goals. So he's doing his job as well. So
yeah, we've got Connor Chaplin's stats on the screen now. Obviously, 4 games, 48 touches or 48.3 touches, 74% pass accuracy, 1.3 key passes, 5 shots per game, expected goals per game, 1.69, expected assists per game, 0.25, possession loss, 13. That's over the season so far, a 7.35 stats from SofaScore. So it quietly got about his business in the Championship, 4 games in, and they've all given themselves, I think it's probably fair to say, a really good foundation and to keep building from. And stat wise, I really was impressed with Leaf's stats. I really liked his. But yeah, I agree with you. Morsey on Saturday for me, second half particularly, was another level, absolute another level.
Yeah, and he does it, as I said, sometimes goes under the radar, but he won everything other than the goal, which obviously Kieran McKenna reckons it was a foul on him. But
not for me. But yeah,
no,
I can see why.
no, I didn't know. I'm not gonna lie. If I don't notice it live, then I'm not going to turn around and start shouting and hollering saying it's a free kick. But yeah, I thought he was the best player on the pitch second half. He got on the ball. He was up against people probably double his pace, and that turn that looks so slow still gets away from him. I'm yet to discover how he does it.
No, but, me too. It looks like he's not moving barely at all, didn't it? And you think he's going to get found out eventually.
Gone.
But
he's gone. He's away. It's brilliant. But yeah, I thought he ran the show.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. We've got congratulations to Connor from Colin in the chat. Everyone have a Johnny on the spot. We have a Connor on the spot. Phil says Taylor should have had minutes versus Leeds. Do you think Taylor should have had more minutes than he did against Leeds on Saturday? Yeah. Should have been brought on earlier.
Yeah, I wanted to see him at half time. I thought that we might have seen him and Williams at half time. Give them both a bit of time to both get into the game and then impact it, maybe in a more attacking way than what Harry Clark and Luongo was doing. But I had my heart in my mouth a couple of times after Luongo was on a yellow card that he was going to get sent off. He was still putting in his tackles, wasn't he? Agreed. But just a bit more energy. We were getting a bit overrun by the young legs of Ampadu and Gray, and I don't particularly think that if you put them head to head against each other, that Ampadu and Gray at this stage in their careers are much better than Luongo and Morsey. What they both have is young legs, and I think that we did get a bit outrun in the first half. And Taylor, to me, seems like a person who will probably cover the most distance on the pitch, probably outside of Leif Davis, because Leif Davis does not stop. So,
yeah, I would agree with that. The rest of the team, PFA Team of the Year was Trafford from Bolton, Mumba from Plymouth, Santos from Bolton, Anderson from Barnes, and that's Mads Anderson, Leif Davis Town. Barry Bannon made it into the PFA Team of the Year to a surprise of absolutely nobody. You should have seen my reaction when I saw that earlier. It was genuine. Huh? But okay. Luke O'Connell. I guess they couldn't resist. Luke O'Connell at Barnsley, Chaplin at Town, McGoldrick at Derby, and Johnson, Clark, Harris at Peterborough. And generally, I haven't looked at his stats, Barry Bannon, and he might have statistically had a fantastic year. I'm not a Wednesday fan. He might have played fantastic throughout the year. But the couple of occasions I saw him, yeah.
And the couple of occasions where he didn't play, I thought there was a lot of murmurs by Sheffield Wednesday fans that they looked better without him. That's just
there we go.
Things I've heard. But
there we go.
That's fine.
There we go. 80 says, very poor turnout for Reading fans last night. There were 2 completely empty stands. And Colin says, Mrs. Plum 100 today. Happy 100th birthday, Mrs. Plum. Wow, there you go. And David says, vote for Talking Town. Absolutely. And we couldn't be here without you guys, the wonderful fifth stand supporters, of which David is one of them. So if you want to follow David's wonderful lead, Aiden's wonderful lead, Phil Blundell's wonderful lead, so many people in the chat who are our fifth standers, then you can do so today by hitting the link in the chat or hitting the join button on YouTube. $4.99. Cancel anytime. Epic value. I need one of those echoers where you go, epic.
Do you want to try it again and I'll try and do it?
All right. We're $4.99 a month. Epic. You. That's brilliant. I wasn't prepared for the actual echo. Like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do it right.
That's class. You got me. I wasn't ready for it at all. Right. Cardiff at the weekend, where Town hopes to get back to winning ways. What are your expectations heading in first, Brandon? Are you expecting the Town to win? Is it going to be a very difficult game? Were you a bit nervy? How are you feeling heading into it?
I'm confident. I think we are although we just lost to a 100 million odd Leeds squad, I do think that at home we're going to be strong this year. It's hard to read teams at this stage in the year. I think there's going to be much more clarity in maybe 6 games' time, and everyone's had a month or so after the transfer window. Cardiff are a hard team to read. Obviously, before the season, they were sort of picked to be down there, but QPR were as well, and they weren't the easiest of opposition. I don't think we're going to blow Cardiff away. I do back us to win. I'd like to see Ipswich be on the ball a bit more. I think I was looking at some of the team statistics sort of throughout the championship earlier, and I think our pass percentage is middle of the pack. I think 14th or 15th, and it's not what we were used to last year.
Certainly not.
But we have been, I think, in terms of winning the ball, I think we've been the best in the division, the most sort of recoveries, and by a long, long way, we've recovered the ball more than any other team in the attack and third for us. So it shows that there's good organisation and work by that front four of putting the press on. But yeah, I just like us to have a bit more control. I don't think we've had a 90-minute performance yet. It'd be nice to put one together.
No, and you know, when you certainly look at that, you think about the four games we've played. You've got Sunderland doing the playoffs last year, Stoke and QPR. I know QPR expected to be one of the bottom 3 contenders, but Stoke were mid-table last year. QPR, you're not quite sure what you were going to get, and obviously Leeds, who have just come down from the Premier League. You know, that's quite a tough 4-game stretch early in the campaign when perhaps confidence in a QPR, for example, isn't low because it's still early doors when things haven't quite worked or injuries start stockpiling. And yeah, when you look at the 4 games after the international break, for things like possession and how you dominate a game potentially on paper, and I stress always it's on paper at this point, you know, Wednesday, Blackburn, Huddersfield, and then after that, obviously Hull and Preston. That's a mini game stretch there, really, when on paper, you might start to see Town become a more dominant side because they're sides who haven't perhaps done much in recent years. Might do something this year, you don't know. But on paper, that could be interesting to see how Town use the international break to really come through and sort of fine-tune, if you like.
Absolutely. I think all teams are still sort of getting through maybe the last couple of yards and the legs that they need to after, you know, half season away. You get pre-season, but I don't think you ever get anyone in full flow until probably about November, December, barring if they start getting injury problems. And obviously we saw with Ipswich last year, I think at the moment what we're seeing in games is we're giving away sloppy chances to the other teams, and some of them have led to sloppy goals. We saw that last year in League One. We were conceding sloppy mistakes at the back for the first half of the season, and then we saw towards the back end that, you know, over time you cut those mistakes out. So again, that's down to good coaching, good management, and the players just getting more minutes in their legs, and I have no doubt that's going to be the same.
Yeah, and for those keeping track at home, I know it's only 4 games in, but for those that are interested in it, the Cardiff currently sit 17th out of the 4 games. They've won 1, drawn 1, and lost 2. I think the draw was obviously Leeds on the opening day of the year, where they were 2-0 up, I want to say.
Yeah, conceded 2 late goals.
Make of that what you will. Obviously, early days. As he says, talking of Cardiff, I've already booked a weekend away when we play them away next March. Hopefully, it doesn't get moved for TV scheduling then, AD. That's always a risk in this division. Always the risk. Look, the last time we played Cardiff, Brandon, was the 21st of February, 2018. Can you remember what the score was that day?
Was it home or away?
Home.
Did we draw 1-1?
Afraid not. You got one of them right, but it wasn't a 1-1 draw.
Did we
Which
lose
one did you
2-1?
get right? No, we lost 1-0. We lost 1-0, and this was the team. Bart in goal, Carter Vickers, Jonas Knudsen, Jordan Spence, Adam Webster, Luke Chambers, Luke Heim, Cole Skuse, Grant Ward, Bersant Selina, and Freddie Sears. Cardiff was second, and we were 13th. Very different times, but any of those players jump out as like, oh yeah, I forgot he played for Town, or he was a good player. I like watching
Not
him.
forgot, but I tell you what, there's some money in that back 5.
Do you think so?
Webster and Carter Vickers, you know.
Yeah.
They're
Jonas
both doing
Knudsen.
all right for each other. Yeah, Knudsen. I saw him come up on FIFA the other day. He came. I packed him, and I was like, he still exists. Brilliant.
I used to really like Jonas. You know, I used to really like him as a player. I thought he was a good player. More of an inside centre half than a proper attacking fullback. I always did rate him.
It's good to hear that we started 3 centre halves that day, and we also still had Luke Heim and Cole Scoos in midfield.
Of course, it wouldn't be a Mick McCarthy team, would it? 2018, if I'm not getting my years right, without that handbrake firmly, firmly slammed on. Do we know of any new signings yet? Sean asked. We might as well come to that before we come to our predicted 11. No new signings, no rumours. I tell you, Brandon, the closer it gets to Friday, 11 p.m., the closer it starts to feel, or the more it starts to feel like Christmas Eve when I go out to the SO garage and wrap up in tinfoil whatever the SO garage has left for me to give my family as presents.
Yeah. Reminds me of that episode of Friends when Joey and Chandler get them like a Diet Coke and a Diet Lemonade.
Yes.
Yes. Toilet seat covers. Good old presents.
Yeah.
What I would say, what hasn't got me maybe too down and worried about not bringing in the signings is this Brandon Williams was going on for 4 weeks, and we only heard about it the day before it happened. Everything works a bit quicker around this time, so it could be that we wake up tomorrow morning and we get told this move is down the line, and then by the evening it's announced. That's what happens come the last couple of days of the transfer window. So
yeah,
I have trust in McKenna and Ashton. I think we'll see based on if the signings come in and what the signings are on what are our targets this year. But what we've also got to remember is our best window last year was January, where we made 4 signings that made us start 11.
But I don't think you can do that every January, particularly at this level.
I'm not saying that, but obviously a lot of the people on this platform, and me included, think that we're 2 or 3 signings away from,
and McKenna,
from being competitive. And if it gets to, we go through to January, and we let's say we're 11th in January, and we're 6 points off the top 6. Why not go in there, get those 2 or 3 signings right at that point, rather than rushing them now? And going on the second half of the season. I don't think it's too late if we don't do business now. I'll be upset. I'm not saying I won't be. I'd love to see, especially a more athletic left centre half come in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my only worry. The amount of times that Nonto was 1-on-1 with Burgess was not safe for my viewing on last Saturday. I'll tell you that much. But that's not to do with Burgess. It's to do with our left side is much more attacking than our right. You think about our right side, you have Clark or Donasian have started there. They're more defensive in terms of what they're asked to do of Davis. And they have Burns in front of them, who used to be a right back. So they get a lot of help as well. You look at Davis' side, Broadhead doesn't have the same sort of defensive ability as Burns. And Davis is asked to do more attacking. So it's always going to be that Burgess is isolated. And I just think if you're going to play like that, you need some sort of athleticism at left centre half to be able to cope with a winger if he's running at you, even if that means holding him up for a couple of seconds so Leif Davis can get back. But I just think that will hurt us against if we want to be in the top 6 conversation. That's going to hurt us, with teams who want to be there and thereabouts.
The more athletic players, speedy
absolutely.
Players, the players,
the wingers who can go past Burgess and then have the quality to put it on a plate or score themselves. I think that's where we might get punished. But
I felt we're getting into Ghassan Hadmi and Kamara territory the more we creep towards Friday. We haven't signed somebody, we kind of need a few bodies. Let's take a gamble, or let's throw the dice. Roll the dice rather. And I hear what you say, and I think you're right in the sense of we did obviously use January last year really well. I just question at this level whether you can do that, because teams you're obviously fishing for better quality player, and I don't mean that with any disrespect to obviously a Nathan Broad who's a needle mover, but you're fishing with other big hitters in the division for those same pool of players. And in January, notoriously, what we've always been told, now this was obviously the last regime, that there's more of a premium in players in January. It's harder to get deals over the line. It's the fees are perhaps increased, or they're a bit inflated because teams are aware of what you are trying to do. It might be to avoid relegation, to win promotion, or get into the top 6, and people are just a little bit more reluctant to let go. So I'm really apprehensive. I think that's probably the word I'm looking for, is in the sense of, can we use January again next year as that same springboard to push us somewhere at this level? So I would like the business now. Woody Wood says, I've got to say I'm a little bit underwhelmed with our links to Dane Scarlett. Though I don't see any big money or choices available for another front man. And Trevor says,
I haven't seen any link to Dane Scarlett.
No, I've seen a few people mention it, because I think he's been
but that's
available.
Just what Kieran McKenna said in an isolated interview after a Papa John's game last year. It's
possibly, connecting dots that perhaps aren't there yet. But Trevor says, which is a very good question, considering Stokes' business and other teams in the division, but particularly Stokes, why are we not looking abroad for signings? Perhaps Ashton's fan doesn't take national calls. I don't know. I've got no idea why we're yet to see anybody from abroad sign.
In Football Manager terms, we just might not have a network set up outside the UK.
This is it. Perhaps
the dashboard might get all out of sync and lose connection if it goes beyond the borders. We don't know.
Yeah. Perhaps, I don't know. Yeah. Although, if the rumor that I've been seeing circulating about, Matt Crooks from Borough, I mean, is a dashboard due an update? Is it due a system reset?
We're starting to spit out the same things. Yeah.
Is it a little bit out of date? If we hear Burst St. Selena rumors, we know the dashboard is certainly stuck. In
maybe it started to refresh, and rather than Matt Crooks, it's come up with this guy called Cat Brooks. He looks really good. I didn't realise that a Cat Brooks plays for Borough.
This is it. I mean, is a dashboard just due a system update? You keep. I don't know about you, but I keep snoozing my system updates on my computer. They do my head in, and it tells me. And it starts asking me, "Well, when do you want me to do this? Then, tell me a date, tell me a time."
Yeah.
I'm like,
and you don't realise until it's too late, and you're trying to do a show, and your computer won't let you log in.
Yeah. I just hope it's not Friday morning and Ashton logs into the dashboard and it just has the little wheel of doom where it's system restarting and it's no. But we shall see. €3 from David, and he's been a member of 12 months. So thank you very much, David. We appreciate that. Daniel's starting a new job today. Well done, Daniel. Congratulations. Hope you smash it. And Phil says just need a striker and a centre back. Right. This is my 11. For Saturday, I want you to tell me whether you think I'm right, wrong, where I'm right, where I'm wrong, and
Jack Taylor's in it, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Finally, yes, he is.
Well done.
Jackie Taylor's coming back into the back into the lineup. Hopefully, I'm praying this is the time I get it right. But I've gone Haladke, Clark, Wolfenden, Burgess, Davis, Morsey, and Taylor. Now we've lost. We can start again. Bring Jack Taylor back. Although I'm fearful because he played last night. He won't. Broadhead, Chaplin, Burns, and I'm praying to every single thing I can that George Hurst has been like Lazarus and he is over the injury and he's back ready to lead the line. That's my team. What do you think?
Gov, I have the exact same 11.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'd play Jack Taylor?
I would. As
why?
I said, just more legs in there.
I know why I'd play him, but why would you play him?
We're at home. I think that he has a goal in him. And I like that.
I like that too. Good effort last night as well.
Yeah. And I'm not. This is in no way, and I'm sure you're the same, Gav. This is not me blaming the Leeds loss at all on Luongo. It's fresh legs. And, we've spent £1.5 million on Jack Taylor. And I think he's earned it.
Yeah.
Whenever I've seen him, he's played well in the cup. I thought he looked quite good when he came on last Saturday as well.
Yeah, I did. Good effort.
But we're not going to know how he is in the league unless we actually see him in there. And I'd love to see him and Morsey. It's sort of like Jack Taylor's going to have the bark and Morsey have the bite. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I've been looking forward to seeing it since we signed him.
Absolutely.
He was in my expected 11 every week until I finally gave up. But having been beaten last weekend, I really hope, really think it's now the time that we can bring him through, introduce him. But I'm not confident that this prediction is going to come off. It's like it's another hopeful prediction.
I thought it was strange that Luongo wasn't the one on the bench instead of Morsey last night. I wonder if there's anything in that at all, because I know that I haven't seen Morsey be used as a sub in any Papa John's game or any League Cup game early stages against a low league team, and he was on the bench last night. So I wonder if Luongo might be carrying something, maybe.
Well, he was obviously injured towards the latter stages of the pre-season, wasn't he? And I've not heard anything since. Whether something comes up,
he was on the bench, wasn't he, against Bristol Rovers at home? I'm sure someone in the chat might be able to confirm that. But
I believe so.
Yeah, so it was strange to me that Morsey was on the bench last night rather than Luongo.
Trevor Amos in the chat there makes a comment that I've seen sort of floated about other town areas on the internet, and that's that Taylor could play in the chaplain role if needed, which I agree could, but then I'm losing Connor Chaplin.
Him to. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's something that if it comes down to it, if we're in a game and we made all of our subs to try and consolidate that midfield, and then we concede with 5 minutes left, by all means, I'd push Taylor forward into the chaplain role. But it's not something I'd want to start as. I think then you're getting into halfway to Luke Hyman, Cole Scoos in midfield sort of thing, where you're taking an attacker out the team for someone who can do it rather than someone who does it on a day-to-day sort of thing.
And we've got in the chat here also, Charlie says, I feel Slicker would be better in goal than Hladky. Your thoughts on that?
I disagree at this point, because I think that the goals that we've conceded with Slicker in goal, both in pre-season and last night with the first one, he has got a mistake in him himself.
Sure.
I do feel that last week against Leeds that Hladky did look a little bit like what I used to call him when he first joined town, a little bit of biscuit wrists going on there. Everything he parries just seems to go 2 yards in front of him. But, you know, he's got enough credit in the bank from the first 3 games. I mean, you can't go from people arguing that he was man of the match against Sunderland, man of the match against QPR, to then say, oh, we'll drop him after he's conceded 4 goals, which a couple of them he had no chance with last week. So I think he gets back in.
That's actually quite a storyline I'm looking forward to seeing play out on Saturday, Hladky, in the sense of I've always perceived the number 2 goalkeeper to be a number 2 goalkeeper, predominantly because they're a player that can't consistently put a run together. They can do 3 or 4 games where they're 7 out of 10, if you like, and then they'll have 1 or 2 where they're lower than that. And obviously in goal, it's very fine margin. You haven't got that room to make a mistake. Whereas a Hurst, for example, if he plays Saturday, misses 2 open goals, you always talk about it afterwards, but it's not the only reason perhaps you didn't pick up points if you don't. Whereas a number 1 goalie for me always has that consistency about them where they're 5, 6, 7 games good, 1 game bad, then they're straight back on it again, and they're up and running, and they're consistently on that run again. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Hladky brings. You know, is he going to? Is that game being flushed, and he's back to what he was first 3 games, or is he? Does it play? Is it a second bad game? I'm just looking forward to seeing how that plays out from his perspective, because I really like Hladky, and I think great hair predominantly, but he's a good goalkeeper as well.
How does the saying go, though? It's when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it leads to a goal, so everyone notices it. But if if a striker misses across the box, you're not going to think twice about it because you've lost possession. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, look, we were playing against a front 4 that was worth 80 million last week. He made one mistake.
Yeah, palmed it out when he. Back in
maybe one that I know fans have been arguing about whether he should have come for the cross or not. It is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is with that one. And but he also made a really good save to keep us in it in the second half off Pirro as well. So, yeah, I have no problem with Hladky starting, but I do think that there's a possibility that if Walton's back, I say if, hopefully Walton's back by Christmas and get some game time before the January window, this could be Hladky putting out some tape and some games where he might get a permanent move in January to another championship side where he can start once Walton's better. And what Slicker's getting now is time with the gloves that he can be our number 2. So
Okay,
That's what I see happening anyway. I don't think Gladke will be here at the end of the season.
And obviously, Freddie scored last night. Jackson was instrumental in the couple of moves last Saturday. If Hurst can't go, before we move on to score prediction, who would you play up front if Hurst can't go? Jackson. So you'd go with Jackson again.
Yeah, I was really frustrated. I don't have a season ticket this year. I can't afford it. But I was at the game last Saturday because my mate and his missus had plans. So me and mine had their tickets and went to the game. There was a guy sat behind us, and from about 25 minutes in, all he was doing, once we went 3 goals down, all he was doing was, it was like he was blaming us being 3-1 down on Jackson. And I was absolutely baffled. And he had a little son with him. And then in the second half, his little son started going, "What's Jackson doing? And it really annoyed me, right? But yeah, he was complaining that I don't know what McKenna's doing. He started Jackson instead of Ladapo. If Ladapo had started instead of Jackson last week, we would have been 3-0 down half time. His pace created both goals. His pressing for the second goal, his pace getting behind for the first goal. I thought he was brilliant last week. Him and Burns, I think both their pace drove Leeds crazy to the point where their left back got subbed off at half time. And instead, Jackson could have had a hatful himself, other than a couple of good saves from the keeper and last-ditch tackles in the first half. But he created both the first goals with his pace. So I think he's been brilliant.
Yeah, I've long been a supporter of Caden Jackson. Long thought he's a player that gives you 100%, or as Norman says in the chat, you get work rate with Jackson, and I've long been a supporter of his. More, I have to be honest, probably his role is an impact sub with his pace off the bench, where he can really hurt teams. But he certainly put in a hell of a shift last Saturday, and none of what happened bad was anything to do with him, from my perspective.
Do you think we're seeing the best out of Jackson because in the Championship we don't have teams putting 11 players behind the ball where there's no space behind?
God, yes. There's a lot more space in behind, which is maybe a reason why McKenna's brought him back inside to a position where he's not often played Jackson under his managership, under his role as manager.
He can get behind. I know
he was moved out to the wing, wasn't he?
I think the last I remember him playing up top from the start was last year or the year before when we played Colchester in the first round. It was last year. Played him in the first round.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, blimey, Jackson's been ineffective. But obviously that's because Colchester went ahead, and then they were just camping out in their own box. He's not got the same ability as Chaplin in terms of finding space and find that half yard to get a shot. He's clearly one, I'm going to sit on the last defender here. You play the ball 20 yards in behind, and I'm going to bloody get there. That's the way he plays. And I think that McKenna's obviously seen that. I think it's going to be the same for until maybe it's quite clear and obvious that we might be one of the best teams in the league playing against someone who's clearly one of the not, which you only find out, as I said, sort of in a month's time. That's going to be the only point when teams are going to start falling back. So I think that at the moment Jackson is a brilliant utility player to have in the squad. I'm one of the people that think if we're going to upgrade and get a striker who's similar to Hurst, that the Dapo will be the one for me to move on instead of Jackson. You always want to have different clubs in your bag, don't you? And
you do.
That's why I'm sure that even if we do get a striker, I don't think they're going to be an absolute copy of Hurst. That's not how McKenna rolls.
That's what I want.
You just want Hurst 2.0.
I don't like the drop off predominantly, but I think what you're saying is right. I think that's a byproduct of teams being more dominant on the ball, wanting to take the game to you a bit more, that the space is left behind. Whereas in the lower league that we've just come from, obviously, when you're playing Ipswich and you're insert your own team there, you've all got your own opinions. You perhaps put, I'll say it.
Your game plan is let's sit.
You stick 11 players behind the ball and then just you try and play the percentages. Nothing wrong with that. That's football. No. Football in its own right. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
Be the man to be. You put loads of crosses in the box and Jackson's the man up top. That's not what you want. You don't want Chaplin and Jackson being your central players and you're putting crosses to 6'5" centre halves against them two. He's the player that you want from the start or at the end when there's going to be space on the pitch for him. And I don't know. I'd like to get a big bully striker in, if I'm being completely honest with you. Obviously, with a lot of people have said Kiefer Moore. I think Kiefer Moore will be a brilliant sign. You're not going to get the same intensity in the press maybe as a George Hurst. I know that.
I know Rich wants
that.
Yeah.
But what you do get there is that if you want presence up top, you have presence up top. And if you lose a couple of yards, at least you know that it's going to stick. I think one thing that I noticed with Ladapo last night, listening to it, again, I haven't watched it, so people who have watched it can tell me otherwise. It sounded like not much was sticking for Ladapo last night. And from what we saw of him when he has had minutes this year, he hasn't had that same ability of, I'm going to hold up, I'm going to bring other people into play. And sometimes when that's the case, you have to start looking for players who maybe can at this level. It might not be a level thing. It might just be because he's short of minutes. He's not getting as many minutes because the game's been a bit closer. So McKenna's going to want him to keep his starting 11 on the pitch for longer.
True.
We haven't made subs in these league games unforced until I think the 75th minute at the earliest. All of our subs have come in the last 10 minutes. And I think that's just McKenna having more trust in our best 11. And as we've touched on, maybe not the quality, thinking, if I'm bringing him on for Chaplin, am I just bringing that on for fresh legs? Or am I thinking I'm down tooling myself here? Because that's what I think we're all saying, aren't we? If you take Chaplin off for Harness, although Harness might have more running in him, it's a bit of a down tooling in terms of that last quality in the box that you want if you're chasing a game.
Or an Amari Hutchinson for a Broadhead, for example. Where you got that proven needle moving ability with the rawness of he could be a very good player, but is he going to be a good player today, or is it not his day today? And I see where you're going with that. Yeah, and that's something that maybe that's a storyline to watch as the season progresses. If whether signings do or don't arrive, does the minute changes, or is that a certain position when McKenna feels comfortable making his subs, or how that sort of plays out? Phil says Fred played well enough last night, caused problems, and Trevor says, think the player we bring in with versatile who can play across the front three. Right, score predictions then for the weekend. I'm playing the percentages, all right, but I've gone for a 1-1
draw.
Do you know what? I've surprised myself. I've changed that, and I bet you can't guess what I've changed it from, because I didn't think that'd say 1-1. I thought I'd say something else. And I've evidently changed it before I've saved it and uploaded it.
You didn't think it was going to be a Cardiff win, did you? You thought it was going to be a Cardiff win, Gav.
Possibly might have played that percentage. Yeah.
Possibly. I thought you hadn't changed it and you were playing the percentage that we're going to draw.
No. I thought I would say 1-2. When it said 1-1, I don't know if people saw on the camera, but I don't know if my face resembled it or not. I was generally shocked. I thought,
if it helps, I wasn't thinking myself that it was going to be 2-1 Cardiff. So that's not got you out of me picking.
I was playing the percentages, but I'll go 1-1. That's fine. That version of Gov is a much better thinker. And Ben, who's our random contributor this week with the scoreline, has gone 1-0 to Town. Either of those right for you, or have you got your own score?
No, I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet. I might be wrong. I reckon the international break will come at a good time for us to get our defensive stability back to what we had at the second half of last season. I reckon we'll concede, but I reckon we'll win. So I agree with Colin there. I reckon 2-1 Town.
2-1 Town. All right. 79 says 3-0 Town. David says 2-0 Town. Colin says 2-1. Mark says 2-0. Mike Wood says 3-1 Town. Metal J says 0-2. I think he's going to say that's a Cardiff 2-0 win.
I will say, though, I think it's going to be us conceding from a set piece, because we haven't had one of them in a while, have we? We haven't had a corner in the box.
You're playing the percentages, Brandon.
There you go. So I'll go with 2-1, and I'll say that it's going to be the tallest centre half that Cardiff have, who's going to
Mark McGuinness
probably use his arse and put it in the goal.
Norman Greenwald 1-1. Phil says no way Town lose 2 goals on the bounce. Gov. No, I agree, Phil. So I've gone 1-1. See? Oh, no, I know. Mark Lannon says 2-0 Town. Nick Muller, different mustard Nick Muller, says Ipswich 4, Cardiff 1. 1-0 from Charlie. 2-2, says Moby, which, 4 goals. I don't think I can take another 4 goals through at Portman Road a week after.
What I would say, right, I don't want to draw against Cardiff at home. If you look at the start of the season, you'd think sort of game that we'd want to win. But
true.
If anyone offered you 10 points from the first 5 games going into national break before the season, I'm sure we'd all bite their hands off. So,
well, yeah, we're a point down on where I said we'd be, because I thought we'd draw against Leeds but beat the other 3 teams. So we're points down on where I thought we'd be, in all honesty. But I think I said beat Cardiff, so another draw.
So you've literally covered every angle. You've put a draw on the graphic here. You've said you actually thought we were going to lose, and now you've said that previously you said we were going to win. So I reckon you have the right, regardless of the result, when you come on here on Sunday saying I was right.
So and I will do, because what you've seen now is somebody who's done a podcast for 3 years and has finally learnt the art of being a talking head, in the sense of you just say all angles, and then you can't be wrong. And people will pick up.
Remember to say a different result on the next show.
Absolutely.
You'll be all right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's all by accident, really. I haven't got a bloody clue what I'm doing. I'm sure it comes across at home. Trevor says, really important we don't lose. I would not be disappointed with a draw, hoping for a win, of course. And Norman says he's got a prediction of his own as Norman. He says Aaron Ramsey to go off injured. Fair play. Right. Well, we're going to finish the show now with our Bridge of Lies. For those that aren't aware, this is a quick game. We go from one side of the board to the other where we score a goal. In each row, there is one correct answer and two incorrect answers. It is I have played for. So Supple, Barnsley, Price, Mansfield. One of those is correct. One of those has played for them. So has Supple played for Barnsley, or has Price played for Mansfield? Kick us off, Brandon, from left to right.
I'm not feeling confident, you know. The other times I've looked at him and I've actually sort of got through quite a lot, but you've done me here.
Supple at Barnsley or Lewis Price?
Can I say a little story about Shane Supple?
Of course you can. It's the whole point of the little segment. Yeah, bring it. What's the story?
When I was 9 or 10 years old, can't remember which one, he was our second choice keeper, right?
Yep.
I had a half-season ticket in the corner flag in the Sir Bobby Lower, so right next to where the keepers used to warm up. I used to get in the ground at about as soon as the gates opened.
Yeah.
And I once had a little warm-up with Shane Supple.
Did you really?
I was the only one in the ground, so he threw a couple of balls over to me, and I headed them back to him. It was a lovely, lovely time.
Oh, I always thought Supple was a better goalkeeper, by the way, out of him and Price.
I did. I used to love Shane Supple. What a guy.
Yeah, likewise. I thought he was a great guy. But did he play for Barnsley, or did Price play for Mansfield? That's the question, you see.
I think Price and Mansfield sounds right, you know.
Does it? Are you sure?
Yes.
Lewis Price at Mansfield. That is correct. On to the next line. You have
Price was right.
The price was right. Correct. Yeah. There you go. Carter Vickers at Wednesday, Spence at Wimbledon, or Webster at Aldershot.
Carter Vickers Wednesday.
I'm afraid you're wrong.
I'm probably going to be wrong with the other one as well.
It's actually Webster Aldershot.
Was it?
Early loan spell.
I just thought Carter Vickers it felt like he had 100 clubs in like the space of 2 years.
Oh, believe me, yeah. Looking at his Wikipedia, I think he did. I think he played for United, not Wednesday.
Oh, he did. He did.
I think I've been cheeky there with the change in the last
three.
Just for fun, Ward at Chicago Fire, Andy Drury, remember him? Aldershot, and Anthony Wordsworth, Poetry in Motion, Walsall.
I only remember Wordsworth being at Colchester. I can't remember hearing that Ward was at Chicago Fire, but then he was at... Is that Grant Ward, is it?
It's Grant Ward, yeah.
He came from... Was it Tottenham? Was it Tottenham he was at? Could have went alone to Chicago Fire. I'm going to go Drury Aldershot, you know.
It's wrong. It's wrong again.
I thought you went double Aldershot on me.
Yeah, no.
Don't tell me it's Ward.
It's Ward at Chicago Fire. Unbelievably. Like, how random of a loan spell is that?
That's what I thought. I thought that's
Chicago
not throwing me
Fire.
off, is it? That's not there to throw me off, because that's not one that I'd think, oh, actually, I think Ward was in America.
It's unbelievable. Stupid. Some of the stuff I write down a bunch of players. I think, well, I've not used these players. Let's look. And some of the teams, like Grant Ward, Chicago Fire, I thought if anyone gets that, they deserve to be going on to the next row, because I would never have guessed it.
But I wouldn't have mattered anyway. I was already out. Never mind.
You were. But I just thought if anyone gets that, they deserve to go on to the next row, because
all these Aldershots and Warsaws, like, what's that? Last couple of weeks, you've had Bristol Cities and you've had teams that are relevant. This week, you've thrown loads of irrelevant coppers at me.
I got told to make it harder, mate.
So, yeah, all right.
You know,
probably by the person who you weren't hard on first week, so now they're going to win the whole thing.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. I've got a special set saved for him. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that as well. He'll be back on later in the year and he'll be getting the Bridge of Lies.
Giovanni Dos Santos' Mexican clubs, I hope.
He'll be getting Sixto Peralta and who was the other Argentinian player we had on the left who sadly broke his leg? Civelli. Their clubs. List them in 5 seconds. That's the sort of questions
Brilliant.
you'll be getting. Like,
Absolutely.
let's really put him to the test, shall we?
I like it.
But we're done for this week. This is the Matchday preview. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hit the like button. Here's, of course, the legendary Brandon Dan Carter. I am your host, The Gov. We are back on Friday with our final look ahead. Thank you for watching. Hit subscribe. Vote for us in the FCAs. And as a market trader in Brazen Edmonds said today, bosh.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down low and I get blue, I can't get enough. Hopeless lover. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Hopeless lover. Hopeless lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you.